everybody, it's Angie from Our Little Home and Garden, and today I want to talk to you about what you can do with some of the herbs that you grow in your garden. So basically when we grow our herbs, we bring them in and we twine them up and we hang them up and we let them dry and they look something like this. Beautiful bunch of lavender that I have. And a lot of times we don't really know what to do with that beautiful bunch of lavender that we hang. We just have them hanging around to be pretty. Sometimes we'll use them for cooking, but most of the time they just hang. So I wanted to tell you about some alternative things that you can do with it. And this goes not only for lavender, but for most of your herbs as well. I like to do this with lavender, with rosemary, calendula, thyme, sage, lots of different herbs. So what we're going to do, you're going to need some oil, and there's two different types you can use, cooking oil and skin oil. Skin oil would be something like grapeseed oil, almond oil, something like that. Cooking oil, of course, would be your vegetable oil or your olive oil. And so those would be your cooking oils. And you're going to need a jar with a lid. You're going to need scissors, cheesecloth, a strainer, and a bowl. And of course, your herbs. So I already have a bunch of dried herbs that I've gathered, some lavender, some rosemary, but we're going to start off with calendula. Calendula is something that we have a lot of times in our garden and we don't even realize it's an herb because it's also a marigold, a type of marigold. It dries really, really light and fluffy. And so I like to use a lot of this. Typically the ratio we're going to use for this is 1 jar of oil to half a jar of herbs. But when they're really light and fluffy like this, I like to add a little bit more because they're going to get weighted down by the oil. Something about like that. Calendula isn't something that I'm not sure about ingesting that, so I use it with my skin oils. But just for a demonstration purpose, because I don't have any oil right now, we're going to use an olive oil. Just so you can see about how you're going to fill that up. Now, one of the things I do when I'm making cooking oils is I will combine a lighter oil with a heavier oil. So you'll see I have 2 different kinds of oils in the same container. I will do that with the skin oil as well. I like to use grapeseed and almond or almond and sunflower. All right, so what you do is you fill it up like this. So you're going to fill it to this last lip right there. And then you're going to put your lid on it. You're going to get a sticky paper or just a regular piece of paper and some tape. And you're going to write on it what the herb is, what the oil is, when you put it in there, and when it's going to be done cooking, which is 6 to 8 weeks. Now, it's not really cooking, but that's what I like to call it. What you're going to do with this then is you're going to put this somewhere that you remember where it is, and you're going to shake it every day. And you're going to give it a good, seriously good shake every single day. You're also going to check it from time to time, once a week, and you're going to open it. You're going to look at the top. You're going to make sure that there's no mold growing on it. One of the things you also want to make sure is that your herb is always under your oil. You don't want any laying on top because that will rot. And so you can take a little spoon or something and just push it down underneath the oil. And you want to give it a sniff, make sure it smells good, it doesn't smell bad or rancid in any way. I like to set mine right in my windowsill because I see it every day and I know I'll make sure to shake it up. So I like to also do this with rosemary oil, and make oil. This. I do it with comfrey, lavender, peppermint, spearmint, and those are really great for colds. So if you take a little bit of peppermint leaf, some spearmint leaf, and if you have a little bit of essential oil of eucalyptus, which you don't need, you could do just these, and make your oil. And then if you have a cold, you just take a little bit and you dab it under your nose and it helps with that stuffy nose. Lavender also has that effect too. It's kind of minty in smell. The lavender oil I like to use when I'm cooking cakes. So when I'm using it with the cooking oil, instead of using traditional plain oil when I'm making a white cake especially, I will use some lavender oil and it's delicious. I don't use lavender oil so much for cooking with just food, but I will use my rosemary oil when I'm making pork chops or making chicken. Instead of just plain old cooking oil, I like to use rosemary oil. So then once these have sat for your 6 to 8 weeks, and you've shaken it up every day, it should be about done. Like this comfrey that I have here. And what you're going to do is you're going to take a little bit of cheesecloth. It's really cheap. If you get it at Halloween time, it's going to be even cheaper. And we're just going to take that and cut that. You're going to get a bowl or some type of dish, and then you're going to get your strainer. You're going to lay it out with your cheesecloth over top of your strainer. If I can get this one open, there we go. And you can, depending on the size of the herb, so what I have in here is comfrey, and it's a rather big leaf, so I don't worry about needing to double this up. But if it's a small herb that might slip through, you can double it up. And then what you're going to do, just going to open it up, and if you can see the lid there, you see that the oil has now taken on the color of the herb, so don't be alarmed when you open it and it's green. And it smells delicious. And you're just going to pour it in. Now, of course, I would typically pour this whole thing in, but I like to leave mine set a little bit longer. So I'm not going to pour the whole thing in. But then you let it strain, and you're going to have a big clump of herbs left in here, and then you're just going to take it, and you're going to wring it out so that you can get every bit of oil that you can. Then you take it, pour it back into a clean jar, seal it, and then write what kind of oil it is. So that would be for me comfrey oil, and the day that I put it in this jar. And keep it in the refrigerator. If it is an oil that I'm using for the skin, I will add 2 teaspoons of vitamin E oil for every 4 ounces. And that vitamin E oil acts as a preservative and helps it stop from going bad. If it's a food oil, I will leave that in my refrigerator, but I will make sure I use it relatively quickly. So peppermint oil for the skin underneath the nose. Lavender oil, depending on the oil you use, the cooking oil or the almond oil can be used in your bath water, can be used as an oil for dry skin, or it can be used for your oil in your cooking, especially pastries and cakes. Same goes with rosemary, and rosemary you can use for your skin as well. If you want to make an oil that's good for healing wounds, use your calendula. Your pot marigold is what they're called as the flower. You can use that. Add a little bit of yarrow even to it. Yarrow is great to stop blood flow if you have a cut that's bleeding a lot or keeps cracking open. Add a little bit of yarrow to that. And you can add more than one herb in the jar and let it make together. So those are just a few things that you can do with your herbs that you collect out of your garden that you didn't know what to do with. So if you have any questions, you can always leave it in the comment section, and I'll make sure to review those and get back to you as soon as I can. Other than that, like, subscribe, and share. And until next time, happy gardening.